Hello, I'm Laura Furiosi, divorced mother of 3, and I'm here with my mother, Lynette Galvin, with 35 years' experience in family law. You're listening to the Divorce Course podcast. Through our candid discussions, we hope to help you through your divorce or de facto separation. We will be answering the most commonly asked questions and covering the stages and steps that you will face on your way to freedom. One thing you might not be short of during your divorce and property or children's settlement is lots of pieces of advice. But Mum and I have sifted through everything, and using Mum's knowledge of 35 years of legal experience, we're going to tell you what we think are the best pieces of advice that you should follow during your property, children's or divorce settlement. Hello, Mum. Welcome.
Hello, Laura.
As Mum pointed out, everyone gets plenty of advice from everybody telling them what they should and shouldn't do. Hey, Mum.
Yeah. Tracy in the tea room and Daryl the plumber, they all have a view.
We sat down after an event that we recently did guest speaking together at, and we sat down and listed what we thought the best pieces of advice were, that if we could reach out to anyone going through a property settlement, a children's custody parenting settlement, or just their basic divorce or just separating, these are the best pieces of advice that we wish all of you would know and would make Mum's life as a lawyer, if you're a client, so much easier, and also make your life, your kids' lives and your ex-partner's life so much easier. So, Mum, let's start with one of the simple ones.
Yes.
And I'm going to describe it, and then I'd like you to tell them why legally it's going to help them, because this isn't wishy-washy kumbaya stuff. This is legally good stuff.
Practical.
Remembering this is practical. Remember, it's general advice only, and should always see your lawyer or speak to someone, because everybody's circumstances are different. But I'm pretty sure the first one, staying off social media, keeping your
applies all over.
Dirty laundry off Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. So why is it important that they stay off their social media, Mum?
Because people share on social media, in my view anyway, as an old-fashioned person, probably a little more about their personal life than they should, and certainly a lot more than they mean to. And you might say something flippant, put a poo emoji on something, I don't know, but to you it's no big deal. But when it comes to court, be prepared to see that printed out and attached to an affidavit, and some guy in a robe say, "And madam, on the night of such and such at 10:15 p.m., had you been drinking? What did you mean when you said this?" So it becomes, it's a goldmine. If your ex is doing it, it's great. Get copies, print it out. But no, it's never of any benefit. If you try to put something positive, it's just self-serving and it's not evidence anyway. But, people reveal their true selves. So don't say one thing in your material, in your affidavits and to your lawyers, and be doing another thing on the back, in Facebook and TikTok. So, stay off it.
So, I mean, obviously people use social media as a way to, connect with friends, let people know how they're going. But sometimes, especially if it can come back and bite you legally in the butt, you don't want to. And you might say, "Mum, what's wrong with saying I'm going through a difficult divorce, or my ex is being a pain, or I don't know, someone's trying to, I don't know, whatever it is that they're writing." So, like you said, it will be used in court potentially to show whatever it is they want to show.
So you might not be saying straight out that your ex is a so-and-so, but someone else might comment that it is and let on that they know about it. So you really should just use Messenger and text messages if you know they're not being hacked by some drongo out there who's, found a way of getting into them. But
okay.
Just for the time being. Tell your friends you're taking a little social media holiday.
Yes. And even if you do have a coercive controlling partner or a domestic violence situation, if you're putting just photos of where you are on social media, that could be dangerous as well. So if you need to consider social media during your divorce, if you're not in a domestic violence situation, you've got to keep your private life private, because the court doesn't like that. Yeah. And there's a law, isn't there, to say that you can't discuss proceedings?
You're not supposed to discuss family law proceedings in a way that might identify them. And because your name is on your social media and your friends all know who you are. If you say something about an order that says the children this, they know which children. They know what case. So don't.
Yes.
And remembering that if you've got a narcissistic ex and you just post things about narcissists over and over again, it doesn't help, but it might hinder, because they may say, well, you're obsessed. You just think everyone's a narcissist.
That's right. Yes. So you've got
not fair, but that's the reality.
Yeah. So just remind yourself, maybe, ring your friends, have a chat with your friends, meet them up for coffee, get your outlet that way. Mm-hmm. Now, number 2, and this one is an important one. It's keeping it together, because there's a potential that that can be used against you. And I know going through a divorce is very sad. It's stressful. It's whatever. Yeah. Everybody I speak to who goes through divorce, nobody just breezes through it like it's no big deal. Maybe Elizabeth Taylor after her 7.
No.
Okay, so no one breezes through a divorce.
She left her last ex money in her will, and I think she missed him.
Oh, that's lovely. So why is it important legally is to keep it together?
So that no one can level an accusation at you. I think if it's only a property settlement, you can cry your eyes out. But if there's children, you need to be seen to be keeping it together, like those ducks on the pond, with the legs going, who knows what's going on underneath. But you get up, put your lippy on, to quote Elizabeth Taylor, get up, get dressed, put your lipstick on and turn up every day. Yeah. I've always said to my ladies, mostly cry in the shower if you've got children. You're going to have to be a damn good actress or actor through this phase, but you have to look like you've got it all together. And so self-care helps.
Yeah, self-care. But what are some examples of ways that it can, so say, for example, I do know of a lady, one of my friends' mums just packed up and stayed in bed for 2 months, just completely. What happens if someone does that, or just really can't keep it together and is crying, or, not doing the things that you normally would do? Kind of after any breakup, some people just stop doing that. They wear tracksuit pants, they eat ice cream. Yeah. But how is that bad in court?
It's a reasonable amount of it's not bad. I mean, there are, of course, so many of us genuinely affected. Our mental health is affected by the breakup, particularly if you've got a rubbish ex, or if the marriage, came to an end in a sudden, shocking way. So a little bit of that is forgivable. You don't want to be seen to be wallowing. And if you've got children, you can't parentify your kids. So what the court looks for is that you're getting help, that you're getting appropriate treatment, that you've taken steps. The Irish way of doing things was to have what I call a doona day, but stay in bed for a day whenever anything got too overwhelming. And I think we should bring that back. I
agree.
I think we could say, I declare today a doona day. But yes, so self-care, drag yourself out to meet your friends, keep doing the stuff that you used to love, exercise if that's what it means, will get your endorphins up, but you need to be functioning. You don't want to allow them to capitalise on your distress and make it even worse. It can be a spiral. So, look like you've got it together. You've got to be believed in the court. There's a lot of blokes in the court system that are not very keen on dealing with fragile women. So, you need to put your power suit on, strike your power girl pose, and conduct yourself in public as though you've got it all together.
And then cry in the shower. Yeah. But make sure,
you don't want to give your ex the pleasure of seeing that they've managed to make you a sobbing wreck. So,
and I guess one of the factors that they look for children is that they can be appropriately looked after and cared for.
Yes, of course.
So if you're displaying signs that you're going off the rails, then that's not good for you in court.
Yeah, get help, get back on track, and then no matter what they say, you can have a track record of having got the help you need and addressing the issues.
Awesome. All right. Now, this one we get mentioned and asked. It's probably the second or third highest question we get every single time. And it is, my ex has got a new partner. Or My ex has had 17,000 girlfriends or 17 boyfriends, and they keep introducing them to the children, or they're sleeping over, and I think they're sleeping, I don't think it's appropriate. What can I do? I don't want my daughter being introduced, or I don't want my son being introduced to them. Okay, so Mum, the best piece of advice for all of those people who are like, oh my God, my ex has got a new partner and it's inappropriate, what do you say? And they're not going to like it, are they?
No, you're not going to like it. You have to let it go. If your ex is prepared to parent in a way that introduces the children to a multiple of boyfriends or girlfriends and potentially confuse the children, that, I'm afraid, is on them. What you do in your home with the children is your sort of, that's the way you're helping your children, and you might be more guarded about introducing someone, but you can't control what happens in the other person's house. And so this is where I'm afraid we have to say that this person who is the father or mother of your children, you once regarded as suitable to be a father or mother of your children, and you're stuck with that choice that you made back then. And what they do now is none of your business, and you can't change things. I'm sorry. Unless it's like an axe murderer or a certified, criminal.
Yeah, you'd be hoping that would, even though they're your ex, they would make a decision to do that. But I have had so many messages from our listeners saying, my ex has got a new partner, it's inappropriate, they've only just met 2 weeks ago, and they're already doing things.
That's
with
his
the children.
parenting style or her parenting style. They have to roll with it. And the children.
And legally, from a legal perspective, Mum, there is absolutely nothing.
No, like I said, unless there's something seriously wrong with this other person, the court won't reach out and try to tell someone how to conduct their lives.
And if you make a big hoo-ha about it and maybe write letters or complain, can that be used against you in court?
Well, yes, a little bit. It can portray you as manipulative and controlling and not over your relationship breakdown, and therefore not okay. I think gather up your skirts if you're ladies, or men, push up your sleeves and just walk away with whatever dignity you've still got left, and don't just ignore it. Some people, I think, if they know it'll cheese you off, will do it more often. So it's best just to, like bad behaviour in toddlers, just ignore it.
Yes, and I guess you have to have some confidence maybe that your children, if they're older, will be able to cope with it. They can deal with that. And when they're older, that maybe they might need to see a psychologist if it's been really bad. But and younger kids, their memories aren't as long, so maybe they won't.
And they might not see it as big a deal as you do. And you need to think, am I upset because this human is replacing me in the marital bed, or, as the partner of the thing, rather than I'm upset about him hurting the children by introducing him to multiple people. Kids are pretty cool with stuff, and it's more important. Unfortunately, I have to say this to a lot of people, they need to know their parent, warts and all, just like they would if you were still both together and made some questionable choices. It's better that they know each of you, and they might not have a problem with it. I think you need to do a soul searching and make sure it's not you that is doing it. Yeah.
But unfortunately, there is nothing you can do about
Nothing
it. So
at all.
don't waste your time. Just, try and find a way to move forward. Talk to your friends, and hopefully everything will work out.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, next one, Mum. So this one is a money-related one. There's 2 actually, and it is... Sorry to interrupt this episode, but we have a really important announcement that very well might just help you out. Are you feeling confused, lost, scared, and overwhelmed by the family law legal jargon and processes? Join the club. Now it's your chance to empower, educate, and equip yourself with the legal know-how and tools you need to get divorced and finally settle. Introducing the DIY Divorce Blueprint, created lovingly by Mum and me. We've downloaded Mum's brains into 42 video lessons, along with over 100 templates and worksheets that you can use to create and settle your property and children's matters. Follow our guide and steps and templates to get yourself finally settled in divorce. Use it as a guide with your lawyer or without, but hopefully using this DIY Divorce Blueprint, you can stay out of court and you can get it settled and sorted at a fraction of the price. Click the link in the show notes to find out more, or go to thedivorcecourse.com.au/enroll. So this one is a money-related one. There's two, actually, and it is no such thing as matrimonial.
Non-matrimonial.
Non-matrimonial assets and money. So can you explain what that means?
Yeah, sure. So to everyone's surprise, really, the court looks at, if you were going to go to court and have a trial over property, they would look at the property as it exists on the day that you go to court. So, and they look at everything in your possession, everything that you've got power over or control over. So if you've got money from Aunt Bessie that you've got coming to you after separation and it's still in a trust account somewhere and you've been really careful not to take it down, that's still matrimonial property, I'm afraid, and it gets looked at. It might be treated a little bit differently. They might make like 2 lots of matrimonial property, but there's no such thing as non-matrimonial assets.
So we get a lot of messages from ladies saying, once we split, I've got nothing. They're the doctor or the lawyer or the, I don't know, politician even, that have got all the money and I've got nothing. I've stayed at home. And the one thing that I wish that everyone would know is that you are entitled to some of that property. Absolutely. And some of that assets, whether you earned it or not, because you did earn it by being a part of the family unit.
Yes, that's exactly right. So don't be blindsided by that. And sometimes you'll have people I have people come to me and say, oh, I'm not touching his super. That's not a matrimonial property. Or I've had this gold bar since before we got together and I'm not sharing it. Well, it's not matrimonial property, or it's non-matrimonial, no such thing. So everything comes in, and the court gives a different division on some things, perhaps, if they're not really associated closely with efforts of the party during the marriage.
If you'd like more information about that, you can listen to our property settlement part 3 series. And in that, Mum talks about what is considered and how they balance it out. Or you can do our divorce course and fully go in depth there. But Mum, it's a really important matter, because I've done a couple of TikToks and Instagram reels on this, saying it's all on the table for everyone. And you get people saying horrible things.
You get the trolls.
More than one person has said, I'm one step ahead of you, honey. I've got a trust account. So I'm not a lawyer, but I have this vibe that just because it's in a trust account or just because the business is in their name doesn't make a difference, does it?
It doesn't make much of a difference, no. If the trust account, so we read the trust account deeds very carefully, and usually we can unpick them. And the court basically says, from Ascot Investments and Harper, a case many years ago, if the trust or a business or a company is basically a front for you, for that person, then it's into the property pool, And if you give it to your Uncle Harvey to put in,
that's the other thing they say. Yes. They go, oh, I put everything in my kid's name before we got married. Yes. Or I've changed everything into my mum's name the day she left me, so you can't touch it. Now, in America, that might be different, but in Australia, it means tough luck.
It doesn't still help. Part. Usually you'll find if they've completely given it away, well, more fool them, because we'll say, oh, well, you've had that part of your assets and we'll add it back in, but we'll say you've already had it and given it to your Uncle Harvey. But generally, if you look at those trust deeds, you see one person in that. You might have a 20, 30-page document, trust deed, and the word I go through looking for is appointor. The person who is the appointer is the person who can remove the trustee and put a different one in. They can appoint themselves trustee. They can issue if there's shares or something in a company. They can do all sorts of things. So most people won't give their money away without keeping some sort of control, and that's the little loophole to look at. But generally, trusts can be unpicked. Yeah, so it doesn't really help.
So take that, you nasty person on Instagram and TikTok. But the next one, another money one, and that is a lot of people message us saying, I don't want to do child support. I feel bad. I should be able to. I want to be an independent. I want to be able to do this on my own. So with money, what do you say about child support to those that have children?
Look, I felt that way when I first separated. I thought, I can do this by myself. But then you realise it's it's not just you're hurting, it's the children, and they're entitled to be properly supported. And so in my generation, we grew up poor because our father wasn't there, and it was, are you sure you filled in that whole exercise book? Show me how small your pencil is before I buy you another one. And the kids feel rubbish. Your kids deserve to be as well cared for as they were during your marriage. So do it for the children. It's not, you're not being kind by not doing it. You're being cruel to your own kids maybe. And it won't affect anything. And who cares what your ex thinks about you anyway? They should not be reluctant to pay their right amount to support their kids. So go get them. Go get it. It's easy.
Not gold digging.
Ring up
it's
now.
But
at the end of this, go online and put your claim in. You can always choose to agree
Just
between yourselves that he'll pay direct or she'll pay direct. But, find out.
All right, next one.
Okay.
And this is a really good one, best piece of advice, and it is don't let it drag on. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. We talk about a lot about this in our course, Laura, with the letters and how we craft them. But don't let other people dictate your life. First of all, don't leave it too long before you do something. A lot of people leave it and then it becomes easier to not. And I think that's like taking a Band-Aid off one hair at a time. I think you've got to get cracking on it, because the sooner it's done, the sooner you get on with your new life. And what you're dreading or fearing might happen probably won't happen. It's much, much easier to face it and do it now. Plus, what if you win lotto 2 weeks after or a year after you separated and you hadn't, I wish I'd done that property settlement when I could have.
Yeah, because now he gets half.
Now it's matrimonial property.
Yes. So look, it's just all about, I get some people, they're going through the emotional side as well as the legal side. And sometimes I've met a lot of people who seem to be letting the emotional bit heal first before they go the legal track. But the problem with that is the minute you go to wait till you heal and you're better in yourself to start the legal practice side of things, you have to reopen all those wounds. You relive everything again. And those people then are back in the emotional poop anyway. You've just delayed it a lot longer.
I think so. I understand people who are still doing their doona days who can't yet face things, okay? But you can't let that drag on too long. And sometimes I think, and maybe it's because I'm a weird lawyer, but sometimes I think actually taking some steps to sell the house, get the property sorted, divide the super, sort out the kids is healing in itself, because you can see yourself moving forward. So over the years, I had a lot of mostly ladies, women, who are very attached to their houses and they don't want to leave the house, but there's no way on earth they could afford the house in a property settlement. It's going to have to be sold. It's going to have to be divided. And I had people, one of the ladies separated 12 years, but she was miserable because she's still in the house but couldn't do anything. So I would send these ladies, usually women, out to look at little houses and townhouses on the weekends. And next thing you know, they're quite excited to get rid of the big old millstone around their neck and buy something more manageable, more modern. So, it's not – I think it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. I think once you get over that initial shock, nothing is as bad again. So you can, get going on it, please.
Okay. So, and if you're listening right now, obviously you're ready to do something about it, because you wouldn't be listening to the podcast. So if you are listening and you are keeping your head in the sand, like Mum said, set yourself a goal to just do one thing this week that'll get you a little bit closer to the end goal. Yeah. Now, Mum, these 2 ones are about lawyers. So the best pieces of advice if you've got a lawyer or if you haven't got a lawyer. And the first one is see a lawyer. Don't rely on your ex to tell you what's what.
Yes.
And see him for a quick consultation just to find out where you stand.
Yeah.
So, why is that important? Why? Well, it's a dumb question, but why is it important not to rely on what your ex says is legally what's going to happen?
Your ex, even if you still have a big soft spot for them, probably doesn't have your interests at heart. If your ex has been to see a lawyer, they probably know precisely what they're up for and they want to avoid it. So they'll often say, don't bother going to a lawyer. They'll just cost a lot. So don't bother going to a lawyer. They'll just cost a lot. Well, no, you're going to find someone you can go for an hour and just get a rough idea of where you stand. Don't go to a lawyer. We can do it ourselves. We'll just keep our own super. No, we need to know what each super is, and that is part of the property pool, because remember, there's no such thing as non-matrimonial property. So I think that you can't be listening to your ex, and this is part of pulling up your big girl pants or your big man's britches and going to get independent advice. That's what it's called. That pertains just to you. Okay.
And even if you've been in a relationship maybe where your ex has been the one that's gone and done the insurance and gone and done lawyer work maybe for other issues or dealt with builders, or, they did that kind of stuff, and they'd come home and say, they'd say, I've done this is what they've said, and you just go, okay. In this instance, you're separating. So even if you think they've got your best interest at heart, even if they think they've got your best interest at heart, it is actually impossible to have someone's best interest at heart when you've got to decide who gets what. To be fair.
To be honest, I mean, that's right. Even if you could swear on oath that they wouldn't do anything to hurt you, the person they've got their advice from is giving it from a particular point of view and is not going to tell them the things that would be helpful to you anyway. And if they did, how do you know your ex is going to hand it on? So it's not mean, it's just sensible and practical. We all have our own driver's licenses. When we're separated, we need our own bank accounts and we need our own lawyers who have our back.
And you've got to remember, yes, you might upset them by seeing a lawyer, but it's your future. You're not going to be with that person, and it is your future for the rest of your life. And if you miss out on something you're entitled to, say 100,000, 200,000, even if it's just 20,000, that might make a difference between you getting a house deposit or whatever. So I understand people are afraid to go and see a lawyer sometimes because they're worried they'll upset their ex when they're kind of amicable. But regardless, you don't even need to tell them. Just go and see someone.
That's exactly right. One other thing, Laura, can I say, though? When you have got your own legal advice and you tell the other side that you have your own legal advice, it just makes it more of a level playing field and they won't pull as many tricks. If you never get advice, the saddest cases I've seen are people who come to me after they've divided everything up and it's finalised, and they come to me a couple of years later and go, you know what, I just found out he did this or he had that. Can I go back and get some more? And the answer is no. And that torments some people. They can't move on from that. And so you need to be able to look yourself in the eye and say, okay, I know I looked at it with clear sight and I got what I was entitled to, and now I can move on.
Okay, so that's for those who haven't got legal advice yet. Yeah. And you don't have to go and sign up and give big thousands of dollars to a trust account. You can pay for just a one-off visit, and you can listen in our course how to prepare that and get it all ready so that you get the most out of that free hour or that free 30 minutes.
Or the cheaper hour.
Or the cheaper option, so you can just say, here's all my information, here's what the lawyer's looking for. Yeah.
And you know what else? You can listen to the lawyer and you can assess whether you're going to be comfortable with them in the long run. You can find out if our course gives you a lot of information. You'll know instantly if they know what they're talking about and if they're going to be to fight for you. Yeah, that's important.
And then the other best piece of advice when it comes to lawyers is, if you have a lawyer, be proactive and educate yourself. Don't leave it in their hands alone. So what do you mean by being proactive?
Okay, so it's a bit like don't let it drag on, okay? So be on your lawyer. What's next? What are we doing next? Get them to give you an idea of the trajectory they're on. If they write a letter and they say something like, we'll look forward to your response, say no, give them till 4:00 on Wednesday, the such and such, and have a plan. We talk about that. Have a plan for what you do if you don't get the right answer by that date, so that you just keep moving it along, because it's easy to let it drift, particularly now before you start court. Once it's in court, the court's become very proactive since September 21. But yes, your lawyer will have lots of other work to do. So make sure you're the noisy one that gets their attention.
Lawyers, I guess, are like, a hairdresser in a way. There's good ones and there's bad ones. If you have a lawyer, make sure they are doing what's right for you. If you have educated yourself, and you can do it through our course or you can do it through listening to our podcast, but if you know what's coming up next, if you know what the steps are, if you know what's happening, and your lawyer just is not a great lawyer, you will know that. Whereas it would be really bad to find out your lawyer's not a great lawyer at the end, once you've finished and settled and realised you've been ripped. So it's super important to be proactive and educate yourself. Mum has talked about this before, the different types of classes of flights. You've got your business class, you've got your first class, and you've got your economy class. If you want to pay big dollars and go first class through divorce and property settlement, and you just sit there and sip your tea and let them do it all for you, you can do that, but it's going to cost you a lot. But even still then, you might find that if you're not paying any attention, the air hostess or the pilot might be flying you to a completely different destination. So you need to make sure, no matter what economy, business or first class level you're at, you're paying attention to where the pilot is flying you.
Yeah. It's taking responsibility for your case, because to your lawyer, you're one of many cases, but to you, it's your only case and your whole life.
It's your whole life. It's your whole future. It's everything. And like Mum, you've said, the percentage difference, say in the property settlement, you might be asking for 52%, and you might have actually been entitled to 58% of the property pool. And that 6% difference could be, 6%?
Well,
who knows?
If it's a $500,000 property pool, and that wouldn't be hard these days, then isn't it every 10% is $50,000?
That's a lot of money.
So
it is a huge difference in that percentage difference. So you've got to pay attention, and if you know what your lawyers are doing, you can help them. You can do the detective work. You can give them the information. If they don't know the information exists, they might not even use it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really important.
And if your lawyer won't cooperate with you doing some work, and if they get resentful about you being educated and aware, then I think that's a red flag, isn't it?
Yes. And we have a whole podcast episode on red flags with lawyers. So check that out. Yeah. But also in our course, we talk you through how to find a good lawyer, what kind of questions to ask with your lawyer, and how to work with your lawyer so you're saving money at the same time and keeping in control of your
proactive.
course.
That's definitely being proactive.
So thank you, Mother, for those wonderful pieces of advice. And I hope that anyone listening here has been able to take one bit away from that, and moving forwards, your divorce, your property settlement, your children's settlement is going to be so much more easier. And also, as we've been mentioning, the divorce course, the DIY Divorce Blueprint, is available at the moment. We launched it in our webinar just recently. We're actually, for the first time ever, going to be taking calls. You can book a call with me to discuss whether or not the DIY Divorce Blueprint is good fit for you.
So not legal advice, but
not legal advice, a call to see if our course is a good fit for you. If you are interested, jump on our website and book a call. It's the www.thedivorcecourse.com.au, and you can book a 15-minute chat with me, and we can talk about whether the divorce course DIY Blueprint is a good fit for you. And Mum, of course, we are always here on the podcast. We will have a new webinar available in 2 months' time. If you've got an idea for a topic, please send it through to us. And also, I just wanted to do a quick shout out, because we have been giving away a free 30-minute phone call with Mum to discuss your case, and for anyone who has been reviewing our podcast. And we have had some wonderful reviews lately. And this month we have chosen the following lady. I believe it's a lady. And she has written the following. So Mum hasn't heard this. So
no.
The go-to for family law in Australia. This is on the Apple Podcast review. We got 5 stars.
Oh, my goodness.
I couldn't think of higher praise to give Laura and Lynn. They have not only been my go-to to get podcasts to get advice and information while going through family law, but they have also helped provide guidance on further questions I've asked personally. Without this podcast, I don't think I've ever been able to manage this conveyor belt myself. It feels like having Laura and Lynn on my team in my corner And suddenly I don't feel like my new partner and I are so alone during this emotionally and physically draining time.
Oh.
I can honestly say I've listened to each episode multiple times, taking notes at times.
Yes.
Going back to remind myself of the details, but also the assurances that this too will end and keep our heads above water while we go through this process.
Oh.
Thank you both for your advice, words of guidance, and your kindness. And that is So Super Mum. So Super Mum, you get to talk to my Super Mum.
Oh, that's a lovely thing.
Shoot us an email at thedivorcecourspodcast@gmail.com and we will arrange that phone call with Mum so you can talk about your case. But thank you so much for all the wonderful reviews we've had this month. If you'd like your opportunity to speak to Mum next month for July, all you have to do is give us a review. So hopefully a good one. Thank you, Mum, so much. Thank you, Mum, so much for your time, and thank you, everybody, for listening.
Thank you, Laura. Bye, darling. Bye, everyone.
If you found this podcast helpful, we'd love it if you could rate, review, and subscribe. By doing so, you are spreading the word to help someone else just like you. Lynn would like to remind you that this podcast is general advice only and you should always get legal advice in relation to your particular situation. And remember that the Australian laws may have changed since recording.